Scuba goats under the sea. The podcast for the inquisitive diver.
Hey there, dive buddies, and welcome to the show. Today I'm excited to be joined by Elaine Brett, owner of Master Divers Dive Centre based on the tiny little island of Koh Tao in the Gulf of Thailand. One of the longest running and hugely successful dive centres based on the island, Elaine has seen hundreds of thousands of tourists visit to enjoy its beauty, nightlife, and more importantly, its diving. Elaine, welcome to the show. How the devil are you?
Hi, thank you very much.
Good,
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah.
Strange times, but doing good.
How's my beautiful little island going?
Oh, it's really beautiful at the moment. I know that the whole COVID thing is, not good for a lot of things, but it's done a lot of good for the island. It's lovely to see it like this.
Yeah. Well, this is the reason I wanted to bring you on the show, because I want to talk about how it's all changed. But before we do, I think people need to know a little bit more about you. So when did you start diving?
Oh, God, the first time I actually dived was back in, I think, 86. Something like that, when I was in Corfu, just one of those try dives off the beach kind of thing.
Yeah.
But that's when I first got the bug. And then I did loads of DSDs, like in Australia and in Barbados and Greece and stuff. And I just kept doing these DSDs. And then finally, when I came to Thailand, I was like, right, now I've got to do my open water.
50 DSDs under your belt. It's about time you get some certification.
Yeah. So I came to Thailand in 2003, and I did my open water in PP with and it was a course director. He had a dive master trainee on the course. And I was like, what's a dive master? So then she was telling me what it was and everything. And I said, I could work here then. Yeah. So she said, yeah, go to Koh Tao. Go to Koh Tao and you can do your training there. It's the best place for training for pros. She said, but be careful. Don't get stuck there. She said, I got stuck there for 2 years. I said, no, I won't get stuck there. Don't worry. Yeah, that was 18 years ago. Bloody
hell. See, I rocked it. It's exactly the same. I rocked up in 2012 just for a bit of a vacation and see the island for a couple of weeks. And I got stuck there. It's so addictive.
Not a bad place to be stuck, is it?
Yeah, exactly. So you landed on Koh Tao, did your courses. Did you start working for Master Divers or other locations?
Yeah, do you know, I actually stepped off the Songtherm pier and Master Divers was right there.
Yeah.
And I was so good. I had a little book and I'd said to my boyfriend at the time, I said, I'm not going to go with the first place. I've got 5 dive centres, 5-star IDC centres that I wanted to go around, and I had a list of questions I was going to ask. But of course, Master Divers was the first one I walked into straight off the pier. And I just really liked them. And they were British, and it was like, they were really nice. And I didn't even go to any of the others, and I signed up with them straight away. Yeah. So, I did my training with them. Once I actually did my staff instructor first, and then I worked as a staff instructor. They were really busy those days with open waters, and I was doing all of the classroom work, and so that they could sort of double up. It was crazy. I was doing 3 classes at a time and kind of juggling and things. Yeah. So I did that first, and then I did my full IDC, OWSI, and started working for them. I did a bit of freelancing in between, Simple Life as well, Simple Life Divers. Oh, yeah. Worked for them. Did a little bit of Big Blue once or twice. So I've worked in a few different shops, but kept going back to Master Divers.
Yeah. And how did it come about that you ended up owning the place then?
Wow. So Pete McCarthy was half owner, or about half owner, with a guy called Steve, who was in the UK. Things weren't going so well, so Steve had said he wanted to sell up.
Okay.
So he offered a deal to Pete and said, if you pay me back this much, it wasn't very much, over a period of 5 years, then you can have it. He said, but he just wanted to get a bit of money out of it.
Yeah.
So Pete approached me. I'd already managed the place briefly before. And he approached me and he said, I've got a better deal for you now. Come and manage the place. But I said, I can't work for you anymore. Like, 'cause he was terrible. So he said, we had some rules. I had the keys. Once I had the keys, he wasn't allowed anywhere near any money, any decisions, or any of the staff or anything. So he said, if you can make the money back for Steve over the next 5 years, I'll give you 20% of the company.
Yeah.
So I said, how about if I can do it sooner? Can I get 25%?
Yeah.
And he said, yes. And I did it in 2 years.
Good
So
on
we
you.
paid Steve back over 2 years, and then I became 25% owner. So that's how it started.
Happy days. And we've got, when was it that you opened Coconut Monkey?
That was 5.5 years ago, I think it was.
Is
I think
it?
it'll be 6 years in October. Yeah, it's gone quick.
Wow. I actually remember it opening. I just couldn't remember which year it was.
Yeah.
I still love popping down.
Yeah,
there.
we had our 5th anniversary last year. It was kind of a weird time. So we didn't have like any people coming in for a party or anything like that. It's a bit strange, isn't it? So I actually took all the staff. We call them the monkeys. We took all the monkeys out for a DSD.
Oh, brilliant.
They love DSD. So
yeah. So,
so that's cool.
Thinking back over the years that you've been at Koh Tao, now I've only ever known it because I only got there in 2012, so it was already, a super busy location for backpacker season and people wanting to get their open water certificate before they go and get pissed as a fart on full moon party. So, was it always like that in the time that you've been there, or was there a sudden increase over the years?
Do you know, I think back in 2003, Master Divers was really busy. I don't know if the whole island was as busy, but it felt like it to me.
Yeah.
Because of where I was. And Simple Life was busy. I worked a little bit there as well, and Big Blue, so like, I don't think there weren't as many dive centres. Probably, I think there were like 34, 35 or something when I got there. But each of them were as busy as
the next.
They were later, if you know what I mean. So it kind of felt as busy. We had 3 boats running twice a day out of Master Divers, which is, busy enough back in 2003. But I guess the roads and things weren't as busy. But as it's got busier, there's been more resorts opening, more restaurants opening, so they don't seem as busy. Yeah,
it kind of spreads it out a bit.
Yeah, it's got the island's grown as the population has grown, I guess. I mean, back in the day when sort of 2003 to 2006, I think it was getting actually really busy, and too busy for the room. There weren't any rooms, so people used to arrive on the boats. Lamprey would put on extra boats to bring the extra people in. There was nowhere for them to go, so many people had to sleep on the beach. Even restaurants were just charging like 50 baht or something for people just to sleep on the floor in their restaurants.
Yeah,
I mean, it was busy, so I don't know if there was as many people as there were in like later years, but there wasn't the space for them.
Yeah, there's lack of infrastructure.
Yeah.
Well, just for those people that are listening in, might have heard about Koh Tao, and there's going to be people who haven't heard about Koh Tao. It's one of 3 islands in the Gulf of Thailand, and it's the most northern. You've got Samui, Koh Phangan, Koh Tao. And it's always been a destination for great diving, nice, easy waters, very minimal current, if any at all. And at the right time of year, you get 25, 30 metre visibility and whale sharks rocking up. But it's on the backpacking circuit. And over the years, when you come through to busy season, was that a phone then, Elaine? That's you buying the beers next time I'm over. Brilliant.
I completely forgot. I'm sorry.
That's all right. I love issuing a beer fine. I'll remember that when I come over. Where was I? Oh, yeah. So all the backpackers that were, through university, et cetera, would do the Southeast Asia kind of tour, going up through Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos. And the hotspot was always Koh Phangan for the full moon party. And they would factor in going to Koh Tao, either prior to or after the full moon, to do their open water. And a lot of people would stay on and do the advanced course as well, because it was good fun. So, bit of a party island at times, especially in high season, and a lot of divers. Now, with that comes a lot of dive shops. And I think by the time I'd been there about 3 years, I think we were over 60 dive centres on this little island, which measures just over 6 kilometres from north to south. So it's crazy busy for diving. And some people have, voiced an opinion that Koh Tao was far too busy and it's just a factory, blah, blah, blah. It's a fantastic location for people to dive because it's safe. And the quantity of instructors there that are instructing 24/7 they can do it blindfolded. They're that good at doing what they do because they're doing it all the time. So that's a little bit of a backfill on Koh Tao. I love it, so I'm always going to defend it. But over the last year, since COVID kicked in, it's gone, obviously, completely dead of tourism. And I've been watching from a distance, and this is why I've brought Elaine on the show, because one thing that was never really displayed on the forefront of Koh Tao was the macro that can be found around the island. Now, Elaine, along with several other people that live on the island, lucky buggers, have been going out diving and finding all this beautiful macro. So I'm of the opinion that the face of Koh Tao, once we're out of pandemic and all that kind of thing, will change to attract more divers that are looking to do macro photography. What say you, Elaine? I've had enough talking now.
Well, no, definitely. I was actually, there's always been people interested in the macro. And even I remember, in my early days, there would always be that time when we're at pottery again, and people would say, let's just go out. And we would say, let's just go west. So we just head out west and just see what we can find. Be careful of the long briar, but just, head on out and find stuff in the sand. And there was always people that were really keen to do that, but you couldn't do it when you were, when you had customers, when you're teaching. It's very rare that you get that opportunity. It's funny, since COVID, when we first had to close down and everything, I said to all the team, I said, let's make sure we go diving like once a week, just to keep our sanity.
Yeah.
But then we weren't allowed to go diving. So to start with, so it was a little while.
You weren't allowed to go diving?
No. They banned diving.
Get out of it. What, because of COVID?
They banned it again recently, in Phuket. So, during COVID. Yeah.
Because you're going to catch it underwater, aren't you?
Proper lockdown. There was a curfew in place, an alcohol ban, a diving and snorkeling, beach ban.
Wow.
Yeah, each province is different, so different places had different rules, but we weren't allowed to go out. Their main reason really was for accidents. A rescue would be very difficult in those times because there weren't the people around. So they just said, just everybody stay on land.
No, that makes sense.
So it kind of scuppered our plans a bit. But then once we were allowed to go again, I was talking to Elizabeth from Oceans Below, and we were like, she said, maybe we could just take the long tail out. So even if we just go to Tao Tong, go out in the muck. And then I said, well, maybe I could just learn to drive the boat. So I got my Captain Bidong to teach me how to drive the boat. Just the small dive boat. So it just holds 12 divers. Yeah. I've drove it a few times, but with him on board. I haven't driven it without him yet. Yeah.
Not been
I don't know where all of the moorings and rocks and stuff are. So I had Elizabeth up front spotting for me. But that was good fun. But so we kind of started doing it then. It was literally just like a couple of us, and then the interest was amazing because as soon as we started doing it. So, do you think anyone else might be interested? So, have a chat with a couple of the other photographers and videographers on the island and the geeks.
Yeah.
And they said, yeah, we'll come. So we said, well, if we can cover the cost of the fuel and the captain and the tanks, then let's just do it, you know. Yeah. But that interest just kept growing and growing. I didn't realize how many people were really that interested. And actually, the more things that we find, post it up on Facebook, people see it and they all want to come and find the frogfish or find the blue-ringed octopus, or, you know. So I think a lot of people didn't know that kind of stuff was out there. So now I have far more people interested, and even this week I've got 3 trips going out this weekend. So we've got Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and I've got 6 people coming that have never dived with us before. So it's growing all the time, you know. And I had another guy who's coming next month, and he's like, "Oh, I want to see the frogfish." So, you know, so it's amazing. I think that the macro and the muck is there's a lot more people interested than you kind of first thought. I guess because Koh Tao was always kind of seen as just a kind of simple place to learn because it's safe and easy, but not necessarily one of the world-class kind of diving sites for fun divers, you know, because, I mean, it still doesn't have, you know, it's not the same as going to Indo or something and going on a muck dive there and having the abundance of the amazing stuff that you get there. But it's still really, really cool. I've had people come over through the pandemic as well. They're coming over and doing their month quarantine in Bangkok, and then coming and spending a few months working online and just diving.
Really?
And only a handful, but they've been over and they're like, "Are you diving?" I was, "Well, we're doing some muck diving." "Oh, yeah, we want to do muck diving." And they come out with us on every trip. So yeah, I think this has kind of opened people's eyes. There was a handful of people on the island that knew this stuff was there and where to find it, but they didn't really have the opportunity to go out there as often. We go out all the time. That's all we do now.
I know. I keep seeing the photos. The photos pop up, and you know, when it started last year, and you started putting the odd nudie brand couple, I'm like, oh, that's a novelty. You know, because like you say, as an instructor, all I was doing was teaching. And on the rare occasion that you go out fun diving with your mates, other dive bros, you tend to go off the dive site at somewhere like Chum Pond, see if there's any big stuff. You don't really look for macro. So just seeing those odd little nudies pop up, and then I knew the blue ring was around somewhere because I've seen Alex posting it a few times in the past. But then, like I say, frogfish, like, oh, hello, you know, and then a seahorse, like, what's going on here? You know, it's amazing once you get into macro and adjust the eyes and have a good rummage around, what is actually available.
Yeah, once you know where to look too. I mean, we've had a couple of guys that have been out to all of these areas over the years. So we've got a bit of a heads up. We know where to look.
Yeah.
It's funny, we've been going to Tao Tong every trip. You know, like it's crazy the amount of dives I've done at Tao Tong. And you could still find something new. It's a very weird kind of area. Things change. They're obviously seasonal as well. So back in November when the water was colder, we had a lot more of the nudies were kind of in shallower. Now things were like a little bit deeper. But then suddenly you'll just see like a dragon net. Oh, no, I've never seen one of those in Koh Tao.
Yeah.
I've only seen it in Bali. And what's that doing here? You know, but then that's it. I only saw it one day, and I go to the same area every day. You know, and you're like, where do these things just pop up from and then just disappear? You know, so that's kind of like a sweet spot. It doesn't have. We haven't found the blue ring there yet, or any frogfish.
Yeah.
Because there's no sponges out there. There's lots of soft corals, but no sponges. But that's got like a huge variety of of stuff out there. You always find lots of different things, lots of crabs and shrimps of different types. And it's a really good area, but you don't find the really special stuff, at that area. So then Alex was going through his photos and he's like, so I was looking back at my photos. He said it was around June that we saw the blue ring at Shark Bay. Maybe we should give that one a go. So yeah, we headed out there, and on our first trip, I found it.
Well done.
The blue ring. I was like, yes. So we've been hunting for it at Koh Tao, like in hoping that we might be able to find it. But straight away we found it. So we've had 3 trips that someone's found the blue ring now at Shark Bay. So it's definitely staying around.
Yeah.
And the frogfish, there's quite a lot of the sponges out there. So I think we've probably found 5 different individuals of
really
frogfish at the moment. Yeah.
Oh, that's
So
interesting.
there's 2 on the sponge, the main sponge that we know where that is.
Yeah.
We can have a look. We can find those 2. One's a bit bigger, he hides underneath. One's nearly always on the top. But then Maria, she heads off a little bit deeper. She's found a red one the other day.
Mm-hmm. This is all at Shark Bay?
One. Huh?
At Shark Bay or Koh Tao?
Shark Bay, yeah.
Bloody hell.
Well, it's out. So you go to you're out on one of the furthest buoy lines, and then you just head towards Koh Phangan.
Yeah.
That's basically it.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go that way. Yeah, so it's getting to know the area, because also it's very barren. So it's a little bit difficult to navigate when you're the first couple of times you go, to try and figure out where things are.
Yeah.
And it's really silty out there as well. So it's cool. It's different out there. It's a different it's very different than Koh Tao.
Yeah.
It's which is obviously why we're finding different critters out there as well.
What kind of depth is it out there then?
The sweet spot is sort of between 17, 18 and 21.
Okay. And do you get
That's where you find a lot of the soft corals.
Yeah. Do you get any current?
Sponges.
Do you get any current coming through from the island and Shark Island or anything?
A little bit, but we had, the other day I was with Elizabeth, we were on the sponge, just enough current to try and push you off your shot. Not enough current that it's like a nightmare to swim or anything.
Yeah.
At Koh Tao we get the current.
Yeah.
On that corner. That's obviously why it's so diverse. It's bringing lots in on that corner, and sometimes that can be pretty strong for Koh Tao.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Because the only time I've dived Koh Tao was usually when the monsoon winds were coming through, and we just go and hide down there while you're doing your basic skills with the open water students.
Yeah, absolutely. It was actually what my head instructor, Jason, it was his favourite dive site. He would always say, he'd say, go out at Koh Tao. You always find you can find seahorse and lots of weird stuff in the sand.
Yeah.
You can always find something out there. At the moment, the water's a bit warmer, so things are pushing a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
But then I just got the nitrox and the analyzer and everything sorted. So now everyone's on nitrox, so we can have a good dive. Because we normally have somewhere between 60 and 90-minute dives. We do 2 dives. So that's the other thing that now we have a lot of time. We don't have 2 trips going out a day. So we're not in a rush. We have plenty of time. We can have a nice long surface interval, 2 nice long dives to really, because you do have to hunt. Sometimes you can be looking for half an hour before you find something.
Yeah.
Other times you just find an area, and within a 2 meter square area, you can find loads of stuff. It's
my first time
find that area.
my first time with proper macro hunting was Lembe some years ago, and I can remember descending down on the sand, and it's only 10 meters depth, and I'm free falling, and all I can see is sand. I'm thinking Matt, what the bloody hell are you doing here? It's just sand. And then your eyes adjust and you see a little movement, and then there's another little movement, and before you know it, the whole bloody sand is alive. It's
crazy. It's like a whole
remarkable
miniature world down there. I love it. Love it.
I actually enjoy those moments where you indicate to another diver something that's macro. I mean, my missus, she's not into macro at all. However, I did catch her using a GoPro last month, videoing a nudie. So I think she's getting the bug now. And just, pointing and saying, there's a nudie over there. You see the eyebrows raise and the question, I can't see it. And then you indicate again and the eyes light up. Oh, bloody hell, yeah, I can see it now. It's moving. It's fantastic.
Yeah. That getting the eye in is one thing. Yeah. I never used to like macro.
No.
And I did a trip to Bali with some friends a few years ago, and there was loads of muck diving, and I was like, I can't really see it. My eyes aren't that great anymore.
Yeah.
I can't really see stuff. So they'd be pointing things out, and I'm just, I don't know, I can't see that.
Yeah.
Let alone take a picture of it. I can't see the screen either. If I do, is it in focus? I don't know. But since COVID, I've kind of worked on that a little bit. So I have on the back of my camera, I've got a lens so that I can see the LCD screen.
Oh, so you've got a proper camera lens for like a magnifier.
Yeah, so it's like a connector that goes fantasy housing. It connects on the back, and it's just like a magnifier for your screen, so you can actually see if it's in focus.
Yeah.
And I wear contacts, so I wear strong contacts, 2.5 plus 2.5. So it's like wearing reading glasses.
Yeah.
But then it changed my world. Suddenly I'm like, oh my God, I can see everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. Billy, who's the videographer, he's got a pair of glasses. Actually, Alex made them. So they're reading glasses, but they've had their arms taken off, and they've got little bungees on them, so you can attach it to your mask. So it's got the glasses on the outside of his mask.
Yeah.
You can just kind of lift them off, back on again.
They work. I'm gonna have to find out if Alex actually stole that idea off her. I did a post last year on it because my eyes started going, and I'm now at 2.5. I can't see shit. When I'm looking for macro, I'm screwed. And that's what I've been doing.
He made them for Elaine originally.
Oh, yeah?
He wears contacts, so he made the glasses for Elaine.
Yeah.
Well, and then Billy saw them, and Billy was like, oh, some of those.
Yeah, I've been doing. In fact, I had Billy on. We did the Banda Sea crossing. I brought Billy onto Carpe Diem a couple of years ago, and he would have seen them then because I've been doing it a long time now. Because I'm a cheapskate from up north, I don't want to pay for any kind of posh stuff to go on the back of my camera. I just use a crappy pair of glasses.
Well, if you're both, it's amazing.
Oh yeah. I have noticed though, if you're going to do it, and like I am, I'm plus 2.5. For them to work effectively underwater, you've got to add a bit more. So either plus 3 or plus 3.5. Just for it must be the refraction through the water. But they're at 2.5. At 2.5, they're still a bit blurry. But a stronger lens, it actually does work.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's these things that we have to do.
I've got my dive master, Tony. I've got him into wearing contacts as well, because first he's like, I can't wear contacts. I was like, no, I was the same. I could do it.
Yeah.
So I taught him how to do it, and he's like, oh my God, I can see.
See, I'm massively reluctant on them as well. I'm a massive wuss when it comes to my eyes. I've only ever worn contacts once before, and it was years ago, just as I think, it was a Halloween party, and I had the ones that turn your eyes white. And I couldn't see shit. But the more I drank, the more it got into focus. So I don't think I can drink underwater.
Yeah, but they're not good for your eyes, those ones.
No. Anyway, so digressing somewhat there. Koh Tao, let's hear how it's been impacted by the global non-travel.
Yeah, massively. It's kind of, at the beginning when people weren't really sure how long it was going to last for, we had a lot of people trying to hang on, so even though they didn't have any work because we weren't allowed to dive, so all the shops were closed. People were kind of hanging on a little bit, hoping that things would come right. The Thai government extended visas. They said, you don't have to have a visa. First of all, they said you had to leave. So they kind of kicked a load of people out. But I think it was like the day before the date where they'd said you had to leave by, then they brought out this amnesty and they said, okay, you can stay. But a lot of people had already booked. So a whole bunch of people left then. But then there were all the travellers that were already in Thailand at that point when the pandemic hit. So they were saying, oh, well, we may as well stay here rather than travel back to our countries where it's not doing so well.
Yeah.
So they kind of moved around. So through sort of like until about August, we still had a few customers and a few divers sort of milling about. And a lot of the staff was still around at that point. After that, it really dropped off. Less and less people, more important people leaving. We've had a couple of waves. They've not been big waves in comparison to other countries here, but they're really strict. As soon as there's like some cases, then everything is locked down. So that meant a lot more people left. People can't afford to stay indefinitely. I mean, it's apart from the muck diving, and the muck diving that we do now is all people that are left on the island. So it's all pros, local pros.
Yeah.
As I say, I get a handful of people that have come over in the last year or so to do a quarantine and stay for a few months. And you get the odd expats from Bangkok or Samui, Phuket come over. Recently, we haven't been able to do that because of the travel restrictions, even within Thailand. So it's been very quiet. So other than my muck divers, I haven't done any real diving. My last real customer would have been in April, just before Songkran, which was when the last wave kind of hit.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had months where, November was my first month with not a single customer. That was nothing. And I was just like, okay. And I get excited when I've got 6 customers coming, or hopefully I've got 6 customers coming for summer.
Yeah.
And that's exciting.
For summer.
So that's the difference. Like normally in summer, I would have both boats going out twice a day. And yeah, so it's huge. And I'm last one standing at Master Divers, really. I've got a couple of freelancers still around on the island that are there to obviously help me out with diving and stuff. But I don't even have a boat boy. I don't have anyone to fill tanks. I don't have someone to drive the longtail. I have the captain and me. Yeah.
Wow. You're going to be busy at some point then.
yeah. When it all opens up again. Yeah. That's always a worry too, So, but the island itself, there's so many places that are closed as well. So a lot of people have closed temporarily, just waiting for things to open up. And a lot of places have closed permanently. Yeah. And then a whole bunch of people have moved. So people that were paying rent in the higher priced kind of areas like the down road, going down to the pier, that's just all shuttered up. There's hardly anybody left down there.
Wow.
I think there's like maybe 4 or 5 shops down there now that are open. But they haven't all closed for good. They might have just moved.
Yeah.
Some have moved to just different units on different parts of the island that are less expensive to kind of get through it. I mean, even the biggest dive centre on the island is closed at the moment. It's been closed since sort of the Songkran wave.
Who's that?
They're planning to open again in July.
Who?
1st of July.
Bands?
Bands, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I never expected that.
So I mean that kind of gives you a bit of an idea of what it's like here. I mean, Asia Divers is closed down. I don't know if they're opening again at some point, but they closed a long time ago last year.
Big Blues moved down the beach
as well. Big Blues had to move because of they rent their property, so
yeah,
that's always an issue. I paid my rent 5 years in advance, so it's been good in some ways because I don't have to move out, but it also means I've paid for something that I'm not using. So yeah, it's kind of both ways. So, but mine runs out in February, so yeah, what do you do at that stage? Do you know what I mean? So, if it's not come back by then, so that's the issue that most people are having. I think the dive centres that own their own land and their own resorts, it's easier for those to just close down or just run on a skeleton staff for a short time so that they'll be ready to open again. But anybody that was renting their land and their resort or what have you, then that's when it becomes a bit more tricky. So we actually have a Facebook group with the dive centres and because they're starting to look at when we may open again, and we need to register and have certain protocols in place and everything. So the authorities actually were like asking who's still operating, and I was quite shocked at how many dive centres said yes, we're open, or yes, we will be operating. Because when you see them closed, you don't know if they're closed for good. I guess it's the same if someone comes past Master Divers, they see the doors closed. They don't know, is that us closed?
Yeah. No, Elaine's gone diving again. So I was actually quite impressed by the amount of dive centres that actually said that they will be operating again. Have you got sorry to interject there. You got a rough idea on how many dive centres are expected to be open once they can?
I don't know. Do you know I think the number went up to about 90 before.
90?
Yeah.
90?
Yeah.
Holy shit, where do they fit?
Yeah. Oh, just tiny little ones everywhere.
Yeah.
So you don't really need a dive boat or a dive shop or equipment or anything these days, tanks, because you can rent everything. You can rent boat space, you can rent tanks and equipment. So even small places have opened up, and resorts have opened their own dive centres rather than working with a dive centre. So the numbers did go up quite high, but now looking through that list, no, I think when I looked through, I was like 40 or something.
Okay.
I think there's quite a few. I think a lot of people are doing sort of similar, very low numbers of divers, but they're just keeping things ticking over. Just having a few. The Thai shops are doing better because obviously they have the Thai market.
Yeah.
So the shops that maybe weren't necessarily doing as well before the pandemic are doing better.
Koh Tao Scuba Club.
Yeah. I mean, they were doing okay anyway, but they're the ones that are doing well now because that's their market,
Yeah.
But a couple of the others as well that have got the Thai connections and the Thai staff, because you need Thai dive masters and instructors
for sure.
if you're going to go into that market. So bands as well. Bands did really well with that market. So over Songkran, they were really busy, which was crazy. Like that island was really busy over Songkran.
Yeah.
But then that unfortunately was when that wave hit from Bangkok. So it was short-lived, unfortunately. there was, and they put on, I mean, at the moment, to give you an idea, we have one long prior speedboat coming from Samui every day, and one a week, I think, from Champon.
Wow.
Which is nothing, you know.
Yeah.
At one point, we didn't have any. We've had a couple of 2 or 3 months during this time that we've had no boats coming at all.
Yeah.
But at the moment, we do have one coming and one leaving every day. But over Songkran, we had the big catamarans arriving, and there were like 4, 5, 6, 7 of them coming, you know, like full. And you're like, oh my God, where are these people coming from?
Yeah.
Yeah. So all heading down from Bangkok. But unfortunately, it was really bad timing because of this next wave. It just helped spread it even more, you know. So then it became a bit scary because then you're like, you know that there's people coming and they're sharing. There's like 200 people on a boat. They're gonna spread it, you know.
Yeah. And
we felt quite protected on Koh Tao because once you've had a while where there's been no people coming and going, or not many, and then you have no cases, you kind of feel like you're in a bit of a bubble, you know. We're kind of safe here. So then when suddenly there's like hundreds of people arriving, then you start to get a little bit worried. You stop hugging your friends again.
1.5 meters.
Keeping your distance and things, you know. So
has Koh Tao had any COVID cases?
Yeah, over Songkran.
Okay.
So there were, I think there were only 5 cases that actually went to the hospital here. So they were they were the only ones that were like classed as Koh Tao cases. But there was something like 20 people that had been to Koh Tao and then gone back home to Bangkok that had then tested positive because they got sick. But they didn't catch it in Koh Tao. Yeah. They'd all been to these bars and clubs in Bangkok where it had started.
Gotcha.
So they'd come over, they'd gone to the club, and then 2 days later come to Koh Tao, and they would do the track and trace, and they'd give a list of all the places. There's not that many places open on Koh Tao, so they've been everywhere. Yeah. You're like, okay, they've been in Coconut Monkey, they've been in just every single bar, cafe, restaurant, everywhere you can think of, they've been, and they've been out diving, and you're like, you know, what can you do? Yeah. But I don't think there was any cases from them. I think they'd all caught it too soon, so they weren't sick while they were on Koh Tao.
So they've gone for a short holiday and they took COVID with them and then took it back home with them.
Yeah. Because I think it's supposed to be more transmissible, isn't it, when you're actually sick? And they weren't sick while they were here, so I guess they didn't spread it. I mean, the guys came into Coconut Monkey 10 days later and said, "Oh, this guy was here 10 days ago, and he's now tested positive." And you're like, "Well,
well done.
What can you do?" You know. But then I mean, we were really busy at that time as well, and like none of the staff, all the locals that come into the cafe, nobody caught it. So, but I mean, we're open as well, so it's I guess less dangerous, I guess.
It's not like
chance of catching it.
It's not a closed environment, is it?
Yeah.
Or maybe maybe the carriers have just had too much alcohol in the blood.
Maybe.
See, I keep saying it. Whiskey is a cure for all ails. So, just to pick up on, you're saying, you know, roughly 40 dive shops have shown interest in opening up again. And to people out there, that might sound like an alarmingly high number, but Koh Tao has a very good way of working together. So one large dive boat might actually hold 4, 5 or 6 different dive companies with one instructor and 1 or 2 students, and you know, they do it as a collective. It doesn't necessarily mean that there's going to be 40 dive boats with 40 divers on all going out at once.
No, absolutely.
It's a bit of
that's the thing. That's why the numbers of dive centres have grown so much, because they don't all have their own boats.
Yeah.
They they all join together. So although it sounds like a large number, that's not 90 big dive centres with all their own boats, you know, which would be crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not as bad as it sounds. It's actually quite nice at the moment, though, and there's you know, I hate to say it because obviously it's not good for anybody, the pandemic and for livelihoods and stuff. But it's lovely going to a dive site and you're the only ones there. You know, jumping a bit early and you could literally be the only one on the dive site, you know, and it's like, but that's nice.
I'm hoping and praying that, I mean, it's going to be a long time in Australia before we have the freedom of movement again. And I'm on a slim hope that it might allow us to travel round about May time next year, because I'd love to bring the missus over there and just show the dive sites. And I always remembered May as a good time to be there because everyone buggers off after Songkran and it's nice and quiet and beautiful visibility. So that's where my fingers are crossed at the moment. But, I think
it's been amazing. I mean, when we first got locked down last year and they said we couldn't dive, I got myself a little kayak because we weren't allowed to take the dive boat out. So I took the kayak and I kayaked around Nang Yuang from Mayhad. So I just went all the way around, stopped off at Japanese Gardens, and there was literally, I didn't see a single person, not another boat, not a snorkeler, not a diver, nobody. The whole place, I've never seen it like that. It's a once in a lifetime. Like to be able to see Nang Yuang and the whole trip there and back with nobody.
Wow.
It was just incredible. I think that's also helped us. We've had a few dolphins living around Nang Yuang. I'm not sure if they're still there now. It was only I think there's only 3 of them. 3 small, I don't know I'm not sure if they're common dolphins or spinner dolphins. They're just tiny. And they have been hanging around Nang Yuang for a while. Not sure if they're still there. But
well, I'm keen to see, and, you know, I keep seeing photos and bits and pieces popping up from people doing random dives over there. And obviously you've got the Whalesharks that rock up, which really piss me off because I'm here and not there. But just seeing the regular dive sites, I'm excited to see how much they may have regenerated through the lack of, you know, disturbance from divers.
I think even just, I mean, Sail Rock, we did, the last time we went was about a month or so ago. Over April and stuff, we were going out there and it was absolutely stunning. I've never seen it like it. It was, the sea just goes dark. There's just so many fish. It was incredible. I had some friends down from Bangkok, that diving friends. So they came out and we were absolutely just awestruck. It was just incredible. And one of the guys that was diving with us actually just videoed all the reactions of the divers because he said that was it. That's what made his dive, was like watching people, their reactions to the amount of fish, and just incredible. I don't think I've ever seen that many fish in one place ever anywhere. It was
Sail Rock it's Thailand's. It's got to be Thailand's number 2 dive site after Richelieu Rock. Without a shadow of doubt, it's number 1 within the Gulf.
For sure. It was incredible. It's been, I mean, it has its days, you know, but at that point it was, I saw fish that I've never seen before. It was, you just didn't know where to look, and you only didn't have to move. We were just in one spot for the whole 2 dives. We moved probably 10 meters. We literally just sat and just hung out and just watched everything. Just
was this over at the Pinnacle or on the main?
So just off of where the chimney is, sort of out from there. That sort of area there. Literally just come away from the rock a little bit and just sit there, and it was just amazing, incredible. Loved it. So they were like, put some video up and some photos. That was it. We had a full trip going out to Sail Rock the next week. You're like, okay. I'm hoping to go. It's a little bit windy at the moment. We've had a few days of bit stormy weather. So we're muck diving for the next few days, and then if the wind goes away, then I want to pop back out to Sail Rock and see what it's like. We saw a whale there as well.
Get out of it.
No.
Wasn't Steve's blue whale, was it?
I actually don't know what kind of whale it was. I was in so much shock. It came up right next to the boat and blew right next to the boat.
In fact, Miko got a selfie with a whale years ago as well, didn't he?
Yeah. They are around.
Yeah.
But, I normally don't see them. So that was nice to see. I think there's been, I don't know whether there's been more sightings. It's weird that I think there's been less sightings of whale sharks, but I think that's because nobody's diving.
Yeah.
So they're probably there, but normally you have people diving all of these dive sites all the time. So you would get more sightings, wouldn't you?
Yeah, well, you get the reports literally daily, wouldn't you, from 3 or 4 different sources of photographs and God knows what else.
Yeah, so it's difficult. If there's nobody at White Rock today, then how do you know if there's anything big swimming through,
Yeah. And that's the other thing we need to point out, actually, for those people, contemplating going to Koh Tao when we can. Not only is it nice warm water and you can now see macro because everyone is diving looking for macro, but the likes of these locations we're talking about, not particularly Sail Rock, but White Rock, Japanese Gardens, Green Rock, Twins, they're literally 5 minutes by boat from the shoreline of Surrey Beach. And there's a Saticut wreck there as well. And you get whale sharks rocking up on these dive sites that, Elaine's kayaked around Koh Nang Yuang, which covers all of the dive sites I've just mentioned, in, a morning or an afternoon. So it's a remarkable location to go. Not only can you, have a go at macro hunting and photography, but you can see all the big stuff as well. And I've actually I saw a marlin at White Rock.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
And Andy Campbell did as well.
I saw a sailfish at Jump On.
Yeah, sorry, not marlin, sailfish.
Sailfish. Yeah, we have sailfish around. I actually think I might have seen one at Sail Rock a few weeks ago, the last time I went out there. Yeah. It went by so fast that I didn't actually see it, but nothing else could have gone that fast, so it had to have been. I kind of didn't see one.
Are you sure your contact lens didn't slip and it just smeared across your eye?
No, it was definitely a very, very fast fish, and it made all the other fish disappear in a second. So, it had to be.
Now,
I didn't actually see it.
Thinking forward, obviously you guys are going to be back to being busy as and when people can travel to you. But you started a little group for the critters around Koh Tao.
Yes, it's good actually. I've managed to, because obviously all the people that are interested in it are all the best photographers and videographers. So I have such a good group of people. So it's all the best photographers and videographers on Koh Tao that come on these trips. So they're also putting together some, Alex has just put little packages together for us as well to teach people not just photography, but macro photography and muck diving photography. So not even just about the photography side, but about the critters themselves, how to find them, where they live, and so that you can look for the right areas first, and how to recognise when one of those kind of critters has been around, sort of thing. Yeah. So and also like some buoyancy tips and stuff like that, so he can kind of extend it as much as is needed, for a beginner, or just fine tune for somebody who may be a good photographer but have not done muck before. Yeah. So we're definitely seeing a lot of interest in that. So I put a Facebook group up, Muck Diving Koh Tao. So I've got a page up, and then the page is there for everybody to see, and then the group is a private group, so that that's where I put the trips and stuff on. So anybody that wants to actually join in on the trips, they can join the group, and then they can add their photos and stuff into that group as well. The group is growing. It's doing really well. People who aren't on Koh Tao have seen it as well, and are interested in joining once they do come. So for me, I see this as being something that we keep doing. I love doing it as well. I really enjoy it, and I think there's enough interest in it for us to have these trips. Like having the dive school on Koh Tao has never been about making loads of money for me. It's always been about trying to enjoy what I love, But it got to a point where I've not been able to dive so much, and I've been more in the running of the business and everything, So it's really nice to kind of go back to basics and be back out there diving a lot, which is the thing that I love doing.
Yeah.
So you can kind of rethink what you want for the future,
Yeah.
And we're Master Divers. We've always been a little bit more of a dive centre for divers, so not so much of a. Although we teach and everything as well, that wasn't really our main focus. Paddy would ask me, what my numbers, how many certs have you got and things, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't count my certs. I'm not interested in it, like I'm interested in how many people come.
Yeah.
And I've always tried, and that's why we got the second boat, so that we could take people out and not have them kind of have to go to certain dive sites because we've got open water students on the boat and what have you, but just never really angled it towards muck diving before. This has opened my eyes up for sure for the muck diving.
So who else is doing the muck diving with you then? So you've got Alex Terrell, obviously.
Yeah, so we've got Alex and Elizabeth
Lowry's
from Ocean. Yeah, we've got Billy Cloud.
Billy the Mug Cloud.
Billy the Mug Cloud. We've got Dan Halmy.
Oh, yeah. I saw he chucked a Whaleshark photo up the other day, the bugger.
He did what?
He put a Whaleshark photo up the other day, I think.
Oh, yeah, I know. That was when he was diving with us.
Yeah.
I've got Andy, Andreas. His wife owns the Terrific.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Who else do we have? We've got Piers. Don't know if you know Piers.
I don't think I do.
Lots of pros, lots of different pros on the island. My main group are like Dan, Andy, Alex. They tend to come on most of the trips, that they're like the main ones. I'm trying to get Hugh out as well.
Yeah.
So he's just getting into his underwater photography now.
Oh, yeah.
So ground him a little bit because he's been doing his drone stuff a lot. So yeah, we'll get him out. I think he'll be a good addition to it.
So did Billy actually choose to come and look for macro? Because I know he's blind as a bat. Or was it that
I forced him.
Sarah just wanted him out of the house in a bit of peace and quiet?
Yeah, no, I forced him to come. He didn't want to come. He wasn't interested in it. He was a bit like I was at the beginning. He just wants to look at the big stuff and can't really see it anyway, so it's just frustrating. Yeah. So I forced him to come out. And I said I'd swap some footage for some trips so he didn't have the excuse of not having the money.
Yeah.
So and then he got hooked.
Yeah. So
he came out and he was as long as I pointed stuff out to him because he couldn't find it. and then he loves it. He gets really involved in it, and he had a problem with his housing recently, so he hasn't been out for a while, but I did get him out again last week. But I didn't find the frogfish for him, so I think I'm a mug now.
Yeah, you'll be a mug until he finds it.
Yeah.
Or you find it for him, shall I say.
Yeah.
So what direction is it going? Are you going to, you mentioned Alex is putting together like little little packages? Are you going to kind of offer, macro tuition and put on specific
macro tuition and also, I mean, at the moment with the pros that are coming out, is you can point them in the right direction, or they come and follow you a little bit, but you don't have to kind of take care of them too much. But the idea being, I have a lot of guides now that know where things are, how to find them, and so like to put together a trip for people if they want to come out muck diving. Like the guy that came over, we had one guy that came over from Israel for a few months, and he actually had all his he said, I want to learn macro. I've got all my macro gear and I really want to practice with it. So he brought all that along, and he always had a guide. So so the guide would be his spotter, point things out, and then leave him taking a picture of that, go and try and find something else, and then take him on to the next thing. So that's always nice, because at the beginning, when you've not done it before, and you don't know the area as well, it can be very difficult to find stuff.
Well, that's the thing. If you've got someone with the local knowledge to find these tiny critters, then it helps, because obviously taking a photo can take considerable amount of time as well, because the little buggers move.
Yeah.
So.
And it's nice to be able to spend 10, 15 minutes with one thing. You can really hang out and watch, especially with the videoing, watching some of the behavior and stuff, Once you've sat for a little while, they kind of get used to you being there. And then they just get on with their little lives, and you can get some nice footage. So, so it's, I think as I say, we'll have like packages for all different levels, for complete beginners through to pros that want to try something different,
Yeah. Well, I'll be definitely coming doing some macro hunting when I get there, and Jazz will probably stay on the beach. But
I know, it's funny. Do you know, there's a lot of people that just not interested, don't want to do it, but then once they do it, they get into it. I mean, I'm one of them. Billy's one of them. Yeah. Like I wasn't interested in it at all.
Well, what's his face? Nick Tringham and Stephen DeVelta, Big Blue. I used to take the piss out of them all the time because they talk about nudibranchs, and you're like, oh, shut up, you tosser. It's a slug. And, once I started looking at these things properly instead of just teaching all the time, and then you get a camera in your hand, my God, is it addictive?
Yeah, the camera makes a big difference. But then Alex has got cameras to rent as well. So even if somebody comes along, they don't have a camera, or if they have a camera but they don't have the strobe, or they don't have the macro lens, he has all of that he can rent, for people to try out to see whether they want to invest in that kind of equipment.
And
they
to
don't
be fair,
have to invest first.
He's a super geek when it comes to macro photography, isn't he?
He is. You need to have a chat with him, because I'm terrible with the scientific names for things. I'm learning some.
I've got no chance.
I am learning some.
No chance.
But we have our own names for things. We've got like the Ferrari nudie and the Lamborghini.
yeah. That's much more my way of doing it. I post a few things and people, in groups, and they just correct. Oh, Matt, you've spelt it wrong. Oh, okay, I'll change it. But yeah, Ferrari, Lamborghini, I'll stick with that. Yeah, that'll stick in mind.
Well, there were two particularly fast ones that were really, really difficult to photograph because they just were moving so fast.
Yeah.
So yeah, they got their names with that.
Well, I've got a couple of guys coming on the show in a few weeks, actually, local guys here, but they concentrate on macro photography. So I think we're going to be getting into the weeds of geekiness on cameras and lenses and God knows what else. So we'll see what comes out of that one. Elaine, how do, God willing, when it opens up again, how do people get in touch with you to start talking about doing these kind of trips?
Well, they can either contact me through Master Divers or through the Muck Diving Koh Tao Facebook page. I haven't actually put anything about the muck diving onto Master Divers website or anything yet, but there will be some stuff going up there this year sometime. I'm kind of gathering footage and images and stuff to put up there. So We will have like a whole section on there as well. So yeah, through either of those Master Divers website or Facebook.
When you've got it all put together, if you're going to make a like a collage or anything like that, stick it up in the Scuba Goat network on Facebook as well. Stick it in the group, because I'm sure there's people in there that'd be keen to see what's available.
Yeah. I need to have like a whole section in, because it's something completely new to Master Divers. We've not really concentrated on any of this kind of stuff before. So I decided to have a kind of separate entity, if you like, the Muck Diving Koh Tao, alongside Master Divers. So it's kind of like Muck Diving Koh Tao by Master Divers, rather than just Master Divers. At the moment, obviously it's all local pros, so I didn't want to put people off by, having a dive centre name. Just have it as a general kind of name, so that
well, it's not a monopoly, is it? It's a collaboration it's a team effort.
Exactly. And it's amazing. Every boat is always full of people from all different dive schools, and all different photography and videography companies. It's such a nice group of people. It really it's not just the diving that's kind of good for you. It's seeing all these people all the time. It's a nice, it's a really nice chance to get together with everybody and also meet some new people as well. It's
bloody fantastic. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's many people who can go to Koh Tao and not come away with a smile on their face.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
It's a very special place, and it's, even though through this time it's odd here a little bit at the moment for us that normally live here, because it's so quiet, but it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And it hasn't lost its charm. I've been here for 18 years, and I know that it was a little bit more rustic back then, but it still hasn't. And there's more buildings, there's more roads, what have you, but it still hasn't got that kind of, hasn't lost its charm and become kind of very too overbuilt,
And if anything, this might reset it a little bit as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think so.
Good stuff. Well, Elaine, I think we'll wrap it up there. Thank you very, very much for coming on the show. It's been great catching up with you.
Thank you. It's been good fun.
Excellent. And you've now got something to talk about over a beer later. Say hello to everyone for me.
Yeah, we'll do.
Thanks very much, Elaine.
All right, looking forward to seeing you in May.
Goodbye, everybody.
This is Scuba Goat Under the Sea, the podcast for the inquisitive diver.